Speaking of Ed, just stand in the way. I've been here, it seems like a few times here lately, I feel like. So I thought I would switch it up just a little bit and talk about F.F.A. So, and we have a lot of community members here. Does anyone in the room know if Hicksville ever had an F.F.A. chapter? And when it was?
Yes, they did.
Yes.
And I think it ended, was it still going on with you there, Gary? Because I think that's about when it ended, was in the early 60s.
Was it? I'll have to do some.
Gary's cow died.
Is that what it is? Cow shed? FFA's input. Yeah, we had trouble. We were trying to find some history of the FFA at Hicksville, and we were having trouble finding, is there a history? So I know it's been a number of years since an FFA chapter has been at Hicksville. So this is our first year where we've officially started our FFA chapter. We have a number and we're up and running. So I thought I would just share with you some of the kids' ideas, some of what we're going to be doing this year, and hopefully in future years, where we're at with things. So FFA has evolved over the years, and I'm no expert by any stretch. I'm learning this right along with the kids, but it's no longer Future Farmers of America, which it used to be. And so they've evolved, and now it's known as the National FFA Organization. So it was originally founded in 1928 for farmers. It was developed to kind of spur on that future generation of farmer. Now it's kind of redefined itself for that future generation of leader. And so it encompasses a lot more than just agriculture. So you can see I have a picture of Trent. He's our first and a long time president of our FFA. So he took on that role this year. So what kids do, and so I apologize for having a lot of text up there, but for the most part you can see a couple of things that might surprise you about FFA, and that are things like teaching, business, and careers and things like accounting, wildlife management probably isn't a huge surprise, but engineering might be, and just how curriculum has evolved and how students are just doing things differently. Really the ag approach is 3 circles, and one of those circles is what we're doing in the classroom. That's our ag curriculum at the school. One of those circles is what students are doing outside of our classroom. It's called an SAE. It's that structured environment where a student's going out into the workforce. And then we have the FFA organization that focuses a lot more on leadership and community members. So I said it would really probably be nice to have a Rotary person come to one of our FFA meetings and present Rotary to them. And that's certainly part of the reason why Blaze is here, and I've been trying to get students to come and see what is community all about and what does it mean to fit in and be a part of the community. And so speaking of benefits of FFA, you can see I'm not certainly going to read all of them. I put the 2 that I would say we're focused the most on right now at the top, and that would be giving our students real-world experiences. So our partnerships with different industry in our local community is what we're really focused on, like APT. We have a good partnership right now with NEMCO and a number of other, I have some girls from Van Trest that are working out there, so we would consider that a partnership as well, because we're giving them school time so that they're able to hold down that job. And then also their leadership development that goes along, really leadership and workforce development. Each one of our students that's out in one of those placements has a requirement of having an evaluation done. Then I sit with them on each one of those evaluations and talk through, okay, what's the area of improvement that you want to work on as you go into the workforce. It's interesting, 2 years ago we were seeing a lot of issues like attendance issues, or a student that might actually not show up at work and just not call and assume, well, they know I'm not there. I'm happy to report none of that this year. Actually, I was super impressed with a lot of the evaluations that came back to me with our students. The areas of improvement were minor areas of improvement. So I was actually really proud of our group. The leadership training I think is paying off. I was really proud of our group and the fact that we're dealing with things, it's kind of like now our discipline issue of like chewing gum. It's like, okay, these are chewing gum issues, not like big issues like you didn't show up to work, what? And so they're little things like they need to keep their area more orderly, or so tiny little minuscule things that students need to work on. But you can see all of those areas that are on the board there that we're working on. It does provide our students with the ability to get some scholarship as well, and I left it in my classroom, but we do have the blue jackets that once again say Hicksville on the back of them. So that pride in community is represented by that FFA blue jacket. And so why are we doing this all of a sudden? So there was kind of that interim period where schools were cutting a lot of this type of programming. And I would say here it happened almost by accident, and we were just working with our kids on what they needed. And as a result of working with them on what we needed, our new principal actually said, we should probably just start an ag program. It looks like you're going that direction anyway. we saw the need in the community to try to keep our best and brightest students here in this community working in local businesses. So the program really evolved from his idea, and the idea that we just simply look at our kids and try to do what's best for them. And I would say in my 22 years of working at Hicksville, that has been one thing that I've heard over and over again. Even if it can be challenging or something that isn't always the most popular thing, if it's good for kids, we're still going to prioritize that. So of course it provides opportunities for kids that they might not have normally. And so that's also where I think it's evolved in getting them involved in agriculture, where maybe they don't have the resources like they did 20 or 30, 50 years ago to be involved. You see the student Parker, he doesn't have a pasture and he doesn't have the ability to have cows, and he wanted to learn about livestock. So we put cows in my pasture, and so he's raising those 2 cows right now. Comes out about 3 or 4 times a week, makes sure everything's cleaned up, works with them, kind of tames them down just a little bit. A couple weeks ago, he gave them a bath, which was really interesting and eye-opening for me. I don't know a lot about cattle either, so I've been learning right alongside him. So it's just been an interesting collaboration to give students opportunities that they normally wouldn't have. And of course, it increases their work ethic. We kind of hear, oh, kids don't know how to work anymore. I would argue that point. It's just we haven't demanded it out of them. And once you give them that challenge and say, okay, here's what we need from you, let's communicate that. Actually, I found that they've stepped right up to that challenge as far as their work ethic and making sure that they're just getting jobs done to the best of their ability. We've just kind of let it slide and said, well, you do have to. You have to show up. You have to work hard. And here's what you would see in some of the changes in our students. They're very proud of what they're doing. And so that pride trumps any laziness that a kid might have. So it also adds diversity to our existing curriculum. At one point I would have said, we're a college-bound school. I would say that we don't have that anymore. We're trying to meet the needs of every student that walks in our door, not just a college-bound student. So this type of programming certainly fits into that student who maybe wants to go to a technical school after graduation, or they want to go directly into the workforce. We have an increased number of students that will start working with a company, and they just stay with that company and let that company pay for their secondary, post-secondary education. And that might be in the way of a certification, a 2-year degree, or a lot of companies now are offering 4-year degree options for students. And then of course networking with other schools. It gives our students an opportunity to go meet other F.F.A. members. We weren't able to go to the national conference this year only because of timing. They do that in November. I don't think we got our charter number till the end of October. So we do plan on going to the state convention this year. As far as what we're doing, and really the person that should be speaking to you is Connie Klinker. We hired her on to be kind of a co-advisor with me. She has a background in F.F.A., so she knows how to navigate that circle a little bit better than I do. And so, unfortunately, her husband had to have surgery, and so she wasn't able to be with you today, or I would have sent her up. But kind of our goals for this year, and in year 1, this is where we're at. And if I was to say, what do I want to communicate to any sort of group? It's simply this, like one sentence. We now have F.F.A. Because it's so funny, as we've started these programs, people still think, they don't do that at Hicksville. Yes, we do. we maybe haven't communicated it as well as we should have. We're starting to increase the number of posts that we're putting on like our social media this year, just to get the word out that these are the things that we're doing right now. So we did get our jackets and our number, so we have officially started a chapter. Some of the events that we've already gone through, we went to a leadership night. You can see that in the image over there. That's part of our leadership team that traveled to Fayette to meet other F.F.A. members from other schools. So we've done some small things, and these are all kid ideas. I'd love that we've kind of let it become a little more kid-centric in what we're doing in the community. They took some cookies up to the elevator during harvest. When they do planting next year, they want to do some meals for some of the local farmers. So they wanted to take care packages to the veterans, so we did some care packages, and then the little lifesavers that if you went to our Veterans Day program, put some little lifesavers on the chairs for our veterans. Just little things right now. And we have a number of other community service projects that we're planning. So if you know of anything that you would like F.F.A. members to help with, please let me know. Give me a text, an email, call out to the school. We would be happy to get involved with any community service projects that are going on here around Hicksville. We hosted the Garden Club earlier this year just to have them out to show them some of what we were doing in our classroom with the local garden that we have at the school. Sandy Brown unfortunately retired, and so that left us with the garden. So we're doing some new projects there. And of course then in January we want to have all of the farmers invited to come out to the school and do a dinner for them as well, just so they can see what we're doing and how an ag program has evolved and the needs that we're meeting within our own community. So like I said, we did our leadership night. We have a number of activities planned for F.F.A. week, so we're going to do a petting zoo, some stuff for the little kids just to get them out and involved. Anybody who has a tractor and wants to bring it in, you are more than welcome to bring a tractor on that day. I'm going to try to get Case to bring some tractors in as well, with some connections there. What little kid doesn't love to come out and get their picture taken on a tractor? It's kind of fun for them. So then we're planning on going to the state convention this year, and they have some leadership and career development opportunities. They're called, well, it's really career development education and then leadership development education. It's a CDE and an LDE. Of course, in education, we have to use an acronym for everything. And so that's really just a competition that our students can go to learn some of those job skills. And then we just finished our first fundraiser. Everything takes money these days. So we sold cheese. We plan on doing strawberries after the first of the year. So we shouldn't put our cheese out on social media. I don't know why I didn't think to do that. So, because I know there are a number, we only have 20 active members this year in our F.F.A. Most schools require that. In the ag class, I think if I didn't do doubles, because some students take more than one course, I think we have 54 students taking a course. Some are taking 2 courses, so we have a total of about 80 students involved. I didn't make it a requirement that they had to be in F.F.A. this year. Part of that was just financial obligation, because you have to pay dues, some issues like that until we get ourselves established. So I really just took the kids that wanted to be involved this year. So we had about 20 to 25 kids that have signed up to be active members of the F.F.A. And then next year, all of our incoming freshmen will be participating. Our regular ag class, I thought I would just do a couple updates of images before I take some questions today. And so, again, we're offering 4 classes. We're offering a natural resource class to our freshmen. We're offering a plant and animal class to sophomores, a mechanical principles class that focuses on engineering to our juniors, and then an agribusiness class to our seniors. We also bring 8th graders out for 1 quarter so that they can just see what the ag program is all about. It's really kind of my advertisement for the ag program, to see if that's something that they would be interested in becoming involved in. So, for example, my mechanical principles course, we have no storage right now, so we just decided we would build our own. So we're building a shed out by the building. It's on skids, so hopefully it doesn't look too bad when we're done with it. We can either sell it or go somewhere else. We're doing it pretty inexpensively. So those are a couple of boys that are working on that project. So they had to read a blueprint. They have to follow all of the plans, and they're doing. It took us a week to get the building square, actually, because I'd go out and measure and go, boys, you're half an inch off. And they're like, wasn't that close enough? I'm like, yeah, no, half inch is quite a ways. So we got it within a 16th, and I'm like, I'll take it. We're good. It's not a house, it's a shed. So, but they're enjoying spending some time out there doing some of that construction. So, and it's hilarious to watch it. I wish you could all be a fly on the wall. One of the boys brought a board in, and I said, well, where did you mark it? He's like, well, I marked it with a nail. I'm like, oh no, go back out. We use tape measures these days, not marking it with a nail. So, but they've learned a lot, and hopefully the shed turns out looking nice when they're all finished. So that would be like a junior level project that we would be working on. An 8th grader, you can see we're back to the classic birdhouses. So they're not building anything as big as a shed. What's nice though is along with our senior projects, like the student who's it's always interesting when you put them in that position, and I can't be out there all the time, so I just usually go out and check their work. But the one for senior project is like, I think I could build a shed smaller than this and sell it. And so he wants to do that as part of a senior project now. And he's learned some good skills. He could definitely accomplish that. But we start him out as 8th grade with just smaller projects. And it's the same type of concept though. Use a tape measure when you're building your birdhouse. We don't want them to look like they came out of a Dr. Seuss book when they're done. So, the garden project, that's my plant and animal class. So, which I actually thought would be the class that I would dread, just because like, oh, is this another science class? Are they going to want to take it? But it's been really enjoyable for them to, we're doing some hydroponics in that class. There's a lot about gardening, just simple gardening that kids don't know. So everything is new. We were just making flashcards on all of the Ohio weeds, insects, and crops. And I thought, they are not going to want to do this. And it was amazing. They sat right down with the list that I gave them and started making. They're really eager to learn all of those things that they have no concept of. So it's actually been a really fun class to teach. A couple of those boys, they wanted to redo all of the garden boxes that are out there. But along with redoing the garden boxes, so they're applying some of those construction techniques, but they're also doing all of the soil testing that goes along with it. So we got some just intro soil testing kits. And we always use bag soil, so I thought I was going to test just fine. Actually, it was awful. No wonder our tomatoes didn't grow this year. So we were definitely had some issues. I think our phosphorus was way too low. It was interesting to test it. You know that we definitely need to recondition our soil before we plant this year. Some automotive classes. I also like to give kids some freedom and flexibility. It's actually, there's certain things we do, it's really not part of the curriculum, but we've become so standardized that, and that's not part of my personality. I'll turn the tape off. Not part of my personality to be as standardized as what we are. So, you know, this is a kid that just pulled his truck back. He has a definite exhaust issue. Now, his fix with the exhaust issue, which we should probably turn the tape off for too, was to wrap the classic can around it and put a couple clamps on it and then tape it, which I allowed him to do because he doesn't have any money to fix it right now. So he's saving his money to put on, like, you've got to put a new exhaust on this. So, but we did a temporary fix so that it wouldn't be made. He said, if I don't fix this, my dad's going to start yelling at me because my truck's too loud. So I said, well, we can temporary it for you, but you have to buy an exhaust pipe for your truck. So those are the boys under there, temporarying it so that it didn't make loud noise or, I don't know, break the town ordinance or anything like that. So a lot of fun things going on. So along with that circle that is F.F.A, they also have an independent project that they have to do called an SAE. And so the student on the your left, he built a coon dog box, I guess is what it would be. So it didn't fit in his truck. He had an existing one, but it was too big, so we cut it in half. And then he put wooden, you can't see it very well in the picture, but he put wooden sides on it and all new corners. I think the only thing we really salvaged out of the original was the doors. And then he completely reconstructed it, and we put something down the center so the dogs wouldn't be able to get, I don't know much about coon dogs or coon hunting, but he's really into it with his grandfather. That was what he wanted his independent project to be. So it's actually supposed to be a year-long project, but he needed it done. I don't know, coon hunting season must start here, or have started. So he wanted it done before the start of the season, so he worked really hard to get that done early, and I said, well, you just kind of have the rest of your year off. We'll pretend it took you a whole year to finish that. And then, you know, I had a donation of some door fronts, cabinet door fronts. We were trying to decide what to do with those. And so that would be my freshman level class. We just did with the drill press. And same thing though, they had to figure out how do you get those equally spaced, those pegs on a pegboard. And doing that practical math, because it is an algebra problem, you have to figure out your distances. And we set it up so that they would have everything in equal increments. It was a little bit challenging. The math was challenging. The project itself was pretty simple. So, you know, that freshman 8th grade level project, moving up to that, okay, now we're building an actual building type of project. To their senior year where they really do have the flexibility to go out into the workforce and do exactly what they want within the workforce. And that we're giving them some time to do that. Even our athletes now have opportunities to get a job if they so choose. So that's about all I had to show today. So are there any questions about what's going on? I know.
We got a couple questions. So is this curriculum in the school curriculum, or is it extracurricular?
It's in the school curriculum, so it is all within. Now, how we do that, I think that's unique to every school system and the logistics. So some schools do F.F.A kind of out. Some of it, that's their whole ag program seems to be centered around F.F.A. For some schools, they do all of it in class. Some schools do everything out of class, and it's all come in on your own time. I've kind of picked a blended version of that. So some of it fits within our curriculum, like soils is part of F.F.A. It's also part of that plant and animal class. So I'm going to teach that as part of my class. I don't require the kids to do a ton of extra outside of class work because our kids in a small school are so involved with other things. So like our F.F.A meetings are during their lunch period, so they do have to give up a lunch period and come out and do that. We do bi-weekly meetings for the most part. Now starting out, we've done an officers meeting on the weeks that we don't have a regular F.F.A meeting. And some of that time will be spent, like if they want to go do the soil contest or the agronomy, that's going to be kind of our first just because it's a little easier area to dabble with. They can come out and do all that practicing over their lunch break, but I also try to hit it during the school day as well. So we do more of a blended approach to it.
Second question, what are the membership dues per individual? How does that work?
I think the individual dues were like $17 per student, so they're pretty minimal.
Per year?
Per year, yeah. So my thing is, you know, some schools tack that right onto school fees. Same thing, meeting our demographic, I personally just I wouldn't do that. And so instead of adding it on, it's like, we'll pay for it. If I write the check, we'll pay for it. So, but this year there was no reason to pay for somebody who really didn't want to be involved. Now my hope is the kids will see what we're doing, they'll like the program, and they'll just want to be a part of it in some way. I also don't have any requirements for kids that you have to do this many things. Some schools do that. It's like I want it to be enjoyable for the kids, and so it to be student driven. So I allow them, if they want to go to one event, they can go to one event. If they want to participate in everything, they can participate in everything. If they want to participate in their off sports season, that's fine. And then maybe when it's sports season and they're too busy, I totally understand that, where they're coming from, busy kids. So that answers it. Any other questions?
So you've been able to find work for all the kids that want to work?
Yeah, I mean, there's still a couple placements. I've changed the way we did that a little bit. I always want our kids to have skin in the game. So it's not just I'm finding you a job. It's and I noticed that was a mistake. If they didn't have ownership and value it, then they didn't do well for some reason. And so
Yeah.
now, no matter what they're doing, I have whatever business that calls and says, hey, can we have a couple kids, or we're looking for this, I always say yes, but will you come and interview them? So I have them come right out to the school, they set in with an interview, so I want to make sure it's a good fit for their organization as well, so that it works out. Like, Nemco was so nice, they did 4 placements for us, but they came in and interviewed any student that wanted to be involved with that placement before they hired them, so.
And
kinda
all those
shifted that.
students are probably gonna be 16 years or older, aren't they? Probably juniors or something.
They are, they're juniors and seniors, yeah.
So
our-
they've been through the innovative interviews, so they've had some of that interview practice in the school.
Yeah, they've hit that. So, like I said, I've been really proud of our kids and the way they've represented the program. I haven't gotten any negative feedback from companies this year. Most of them seem to be thinking that our kids are performing. And I think it's also nice when I get a lot of feedback from those companies, then we work on those small issues that we are dealing with. So it's like, well, that's an easy one. Just make them clean up their mess. That's not so bad. And stay a little more organized, and kind of common kid issues now that we're dealing with instead of those great big issues. So most of our students are placed that want to be placed. Again, they have to have the skin in the game, and you can't do all the work for them. They have to be responsible to get that job, go to that job, and hold down that position. I also require them to do all the communication if they're going to be gone. So it's not the school calling saying they're going to be gone. So
Yeah.
so they've taken some pretty good ownership of it, I feel like. Any other questions?
Any other, go ahead, sorry.
You said something about donations. Do you guys accept donations?
We do, yeah. So, and actually the community has been so nice to us. It's the first time in my teaching career that there were some checks that came in that were like unsolicited. They just showed up for F.F.A. It's like, wow, that's not happened before, but super nice when that does happen. So yeah, checks can just be made out to Hicksville Schools and be sent to the office with the F.F.A. Written in the memo, and then it was.
What about other things, like you said that, that door was donated, like woodwork stuff?
Yeah.
Could you donate that as well?
Definitely, and the community's been very, very good about that as well. So if they have something, that was a person who actually, it was a woman who, she lost her husband, and she was cleaning out his shop and found a bunch of that type of item, and she's like, we're ready to let it go. Do you think you could use that out at the school? And it's like, yeah, perfect, we can definitely come up with something creative. And actually, when I was out picking it up, I saw that her husband had done the same project. So I was like, I wonder what he did with all of these, and I saw that project sitting there, and I went, I think I'll just copy. It's a good idea on what to do with them, and the teaching concepts are really good because they have to do the algebra, they have to do the math to go right along with it. So yeah, anything like that that somebody knows of, we definitely take a look at it and see if we can put it to good use. So recycle it.
Other questions? And getting back to yours a little bit, you can send a check to the school to Nathan Ferrell, attention Nathan Ferrell, and he can, we've done it, where he can use it wherever he thinks he needs it. You know what I mean? So if it wants to go into woodworking or whatever, so he doesn't come in and beg for money, but it's a worthy.
No, that's certainly not the goal at all,
No.
to fundraise or anything like that, but definitely it's always nice when that comes in. And yeah, if the check's just made out to the school and it has attention, my name on it too, I can make sure it goes to where the greatest need is. So, thank you.
Thank you. And any question, I have a question before I let you go real quick. How many people here were raised on a working farm? 2 guys, I thought. You, just curious. Thank you, Nathan. Thanks again. You're a blessing to the school and to the entire community. Next week's program is Pat King. Right, if I didn't get this right. That's right. Watch it. The following week, Bill Murphy helped me out, and he's bringing in 4 senior girls from the volleyball team. And then I have a program on the 3rd, which I didn't realize it until I just opened my book a little bit ago. Somebody knows a real good program you want, tell me, and I'd be happy to contact them. So with that being said, thanks again, and thank you for coming in, man. Pleasure to have you here. If you'll stand up, we'll be dismissed by the Pledge of Allegiance.